Many people doubt Meghan has long been a mother. Following her attendance at Northwestern University, Meghan began dating Joe Giuliano, and the couple got married after having a child when Meghan was almost 20. According to reports, Noelle was born in or around 1999, which fits the timeline perfectly. Given her appearance, Noelle does share some similarities with Joe and Meghan, and she's even more like Meghan.
Silverstein was her very first boyfriend. They were both only 13.
Picture this for a second. A woman builds her whole image around being the royal family's bold rebel, the one who speaks her truth and shakes the palace walls like she's got nothing to hide. That identity becomes her brand, her shield, her whole story in the spotlight.
But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button. The tea is just starting to heat up.
But then, the internet starts whispering something wild, and those whispers don't stay quiet for long. A rumor starts picking up speed, spreading across forums and comment sections, claiming she may have hidden a daughter for nearly 30 years. Suddenly, that polished story doesn't look so clean anymore, and people start looking at everything a little differently. Online, people aren't holding back either. They joke that Meghan Markle doesn't just have skeletons in the closet, it's more like an entire maternity ward tucked away behind closed doors. And while she's out there doing interviews about finding her voice and breaking free, critics are side-eyeing the timeline like something just doesn't add up. Folks keep circling back to one messy question that refuses to go away. Where was that voice when she was allegedly signing secret annulment papers in Vegas? Because if this whole life story played out like a Netflix series, let's be honest, the tagline would be "New season, same drama, bigger headlines." Every year, it's the same cycle spinning again. Another leak, another rumor, another headline that pulls everyone right back in.
But this time, the conversation feels different, way heavier.
This isn't about tiaras, royal titles, or palace drama anymore. This time, people are talking about something much bigger, something way more personal, a child that supposedly no one was ever meant to know about. The official story keeps things simple and clean. Meghan took a gap year to find herself. Sounds sweet, right? Traveling, growing, discovering the world, building independence. But rumor circles, they tell a completely different story, one that flips everything upside down. Instead of backpacking across Europe, some claim she was in Las Vegas, walking down an aisle, saying "I do" to Joe Giuliano. And not long after that, the whispers started getting louder. Talk of a baby girl that was never meant to be part of the public story.
Meghan was researching the prince online and found out that the prince is now duped, so I can now go ahead and marry him. At that stage, Meghan contacted Joe, told him that, look, if you open your mouth, I'm gonna sue you.
Now here's where the rumor really takes a sharp turn. The wildest part people keep repeating is this. Prince Harry supposedly had no idea any of this even existed. That detail alone is what makes the whole story feel even more intense, because if true, it flips the narrative completely. Then things start getting even stranger the deeper you look. Meghan Markle's official timeline shows a gap that people online just can't stop talking about. Not a small gap either, a big one. The kind critics say doesn't just happen without leaving some kind of trace. After finishing high school back in 1994, the public version of events sounds simple enough. She took a year off before heading to college. Nothing unusual there, right? Plenty of people do that. But here's where the questions start stacking up fast. People began asking, where was she actually during that time? No clear travel records, no photos from trips, no old friends popping up with stories about wild adventures or unforgettable moments abroad. Just Meghan's version of events, and that's it. And for a lot of people watching closely, that's where the curiosity turns into suspicion. Critics online say that when a timeline has gaps like that, it doesn't calm things down. It does the opposite. It raises even more questions, and the longer those questions go unanswered, the louder the speculation gets.
And right now we're in Beverly Hills, and we're gonna pass the Beverly Hilton Hotel, where I'll be on Sunday meeting the other North.
And instead of backpacking through Europe like the official story suggests, some rumors paint a way more dramatic picture, the kind that instantly grabs attention and refuses to let go. A secret Vegas wedding with her teenage boyfriend.
That we were together is what kids did, right? So she told her friends she liked me, I told my friends I liked her, and then our friends met, and then they kind of arranged it, and then we became girlfriend and boyfriend.
And honestly, for some people who follow royal drama closely, that version of events feels more in line with the unpredictable image Meghan has built over the years. It's not calm, it's not quiet, it's bold, sudden, and a little chaotic, which is exactly why people can't stop talking about it. People think they've figured it out, or at least they believe something doesn't sit right. So let's lay it out clearly. You have someone known for making big moves, doing whatever it takes to shape her path, suddenly disappearing for an entire year. And the only explanation that comes back is a vague gap year story with barely any details.
Come on, for a lot of outside watchers, that just doesn't land.
That missing year doesn't look like peaceful soul-searching to them. It feels more like a chapter that's been quietly skipped over, something people suspect was never meant to be part of the public version of events. And here's where things take another turn that keeps the internet buzzing. People online keep repeating this one idea. If that mysterious year really involved a baby, then Meghan didn't just take a gap year, she took what critics jokingly call a gap child. That one phrase alone has kept rumor circles spinning non-stop, popping up again and again in discussions. But wait, because it doesn't stop there, it actually goes deeper. Let's talk about Las Vegas for a second, the city where wild decisions don't stay hidden. They glow under bright neon lights for everyone to see. According to long-running rumors, Meghan Markle wasn't there for slot machines or cheap buffets. The version of the story being passed around claims something much bigger. It says she was walking down a simple courthouse aisle, allegedly marrying her teenage boyfriend, Joe Giuliano, in a moment that, if true, would completely change how that entire timeline is viewed. Not exactly Windsor Castle vibes, right? But critics say Meghan has always known how to level up her situation, moving from one chapter to the next with precision and timing that keeps people guessing.
Clear to me at the time that, we were together, I would say. Yeah, she had a very clear idea of where she wanted her path to take.
And this wasn't some flashy celebrity-style elopement with cameras and headlines everywhere. The version of the story being passed around describes something way more low-key, almost too quiet. A courthouse setting, just two family witnesses, quick paperwork signed, and that's it. Boom, married. No spectacle, no grand moment, just something simple and fast. But according to the rumors, that so-called happy ending didn't last long at all. The relationship reportedly fell apart almost as quickly as it began. Only a few months later, annulment papers were said to be filed, and that's exactly where people start raising serious eyebrows.
Because here's the part that keeps the internet locked in.
The records connected to that situation were reportedly sealed in Las Vegas, a city that is literally famous for keeping decades of bizarre wedding and divorce records wide open to the public. You can easily find Elvis-themed weddings from the 1970s without even trying. Yet somehow, these particular documents remain locked away, out of reach, like they were never meant to be seen. So, critics online keep asking the same question again and again. Why the secrecy? Vegas courts don't usually seal records without a reason. It's not something they hand out casually like party souvenirs. That detail alone has kept speculation alive for years, with people constantly digging, questioning, and trying to connect the dots. And according to the rumors, that alleged wedding might not even be the biggest part of the story. Some whispers go even further, suggesting that the real reason the timeline feels so confusing could be tied to something much more serious, a possible pregnancy. During that same period, the official narrative paints Meghan as a young woman out exploring the world, figuring herself out before stepping into college life. It sounds calm, simple, and completely normal, but rumor circles, they push a totally different version, one where life suddenly became far more complicated than travel photos and self-discovery, a version where everything shifted fast and the story we've been told might only be a small piece of a much bigger, far more complicated puzzle.
Hi, Daddy. Congratulations. English.
By mid-1995, the rumor takes an even more dramatic turn. Instead of a college adventure or another peaceful chapter in a gap year story, some claims suggest something much bigger, that Meghan may have had a daughter. Not travel, not self-discovery, but a child at the center of it all. According to those same circulating stories, the child was quietly raised by the Giuliano family, kept far away from public attention. No headlines, no official confirmations, nothing that would bring it into the spotlight. Just a life supposedly kept completely private, while Meghan continued moving forward and building her future. Now, to be clear, these claims remain unverified rumors spreading online, and there's no confirmed evidence backing them. But that hasn't stopped critics from pointing to what they believe is a pattern they've noticed over time. Reinvent, reset, and keep it moving. One moment, Meghan was taking on smaller Hollywood roles, working her way through the industry. The next, she was stepping into royal life as a duchess, standing on the global stage. And in between those chapters, supporters say it was all just personal growth, a natural evolution.
But skeptics? They see it differently.
Meanwhile, according to the rumors, the Giuliano family continued raising the girl away from attention, keeping everything low-key and out of sight. No cameras, no public connection, just a separate life unfolding in the background. And at the same time, Meghan was heading off to Northwestern University, stepping into a completely new chapter. A fresh start, a new environment, and the beginning of the polished image the world would eventually come to recognize.
He wiped out all kind of pictures, communications with Joe.
You can try to bury secrets, push them down, lock them away, but people love to say they don't stay hidden forever. And according to the rumors constantly circulating online, this particular secret would now be nearly 30 years old if any of those claims were actually true. Critics don't hold back when talking about this. They argue Meghan Markle didn't just leave behind a teenage relationship. They suggest she may have left behind something far more personal, something much bigger than people first realized. Then attention shifts to the Giuliano family because they're always part of this conversation. People who mention them often describe them as traditional, private, and deeply family-oriented, the kind of people who value loyalty, stability, and keeping personal matters completely out of the spotlight. But when critics talk about Meghan, they paint a very different picture entirely. Someone always looking ahead, always chasing the next opportunity, the next level, the next door waiting to be opened. And this is where the rumor version of events builds even more tension. According to those claims, an understanding was allegedly reached. The Giuliano family would quietly raise the child, keeping everything low-key and out of public view, while Meghan moved forward into a completely new life. No announcements, no records that are easy to find, no clear public trail, just a situation that, if it happened, was handled entirely behind the scenes. Supporters quickly push back, saying that idea sounds unrealistic and unfair. But skeptics, they argue it fits into a pattern they believe they've been watching for years. Because critics often claim Meghan's life story is filled with sharp turns and sudden changes, friendships that fade, family relationships that break down, and connections that seem to end as quickly as they begin. And from that perspective, skeptics ask one blunt question that keeps coming up. If something stood in the way of major ambitions at that time, would she have walked away from it too? Those critics describe her approach in a very blunt way. They say when someone no longer fits the plan, the move is simple. Cut ties fast, erase the connection, shut the door like that chapter never even existed. It's a harsh way to look at things, no doubt, but it's exactly how some commentators frame her rise through Hollywood and eventually into royal life. In that version of the story, everything is about forward motion. No looking back, no revisiting the past, just stepping into the next opportunity without hesitation. And to critics, that pattern stands out more the deeper they look. Meanwhile, the rumors paint a completely different scene happening quietly in the background. According to those claims, while Meghan was moving ahead towards college and building a first start, the Giuliano family was handling the private reality out of sight. The stories suggest they focused on raising the child away from any spotlight at all. No media attention, no headlines, no public drama, just a quiet life kept far away from cameras and public discussion. But stories like that, they don't stay buried forever, especially not in the age of the internet. Online chatter keeps bringing it back again and again, and people keep asking what would happen if something like this were ever proven. Because if it were, critics say, it could shake the carefully built public image people associate with Meghan today. And that's exactly why this topic keeps resurfacing. Then there's the mystery that keeps pulling people deeper into the conversation, the alleged Las Vegas annulment. A short teenage marriage on its own might just be an awkward story, something people move past. But records sealed so tightly that almost nobody can access them, that's what really keeps the speculation alive. Las Vegas is known for wild, messy wedding history. You can easily find records tied to rock stars, quick celebrity marriages, even bizarre Elvis-themed ceremonies from decades ago. Yet critics point out that Meghan Markle's alleged annulment documents are unusually difficult to access. That detail alone keeps raising eyebrows and restarting the same question over and over again. Why seal it at all? Courts don't usually lock records away without a reason, and because of that, rumor communities keep digging, wondering if something more complicated could be behind it all, something that, if revealed, could challenge the clean timeline people have been told. Often told about her early years, those stories keep evolving the more people dig into them, and some don't stop there. They go even further, speculating that the sealed paperwork could be tied to something much bigger entirely, something that hasn't fully come to light. And here's the strange irony critics love to point out again and again. Meghan often speaks about authenticity, about truth, about sharing her journey openly with the world. That message has been a huge part of her public identity. Yet the one chapter that rumor watchers obsess over the most, the mysterious gap year and everything connected to it, is also the part that remains the most unclear. The more she talks about transparency, the louder some skeptics get. They claim her past feels less like an open book and more like a locked vault, packed with unanswered questions that never seem to fully go away. And according to those voices online, this story isn't done stirring controversy just yet. They believe this ghost chapter keeps coming back because too many pieces still don't line up in their eyes. Then comes another moment people keep pointing to, her arrival at Northwestern University. Critics say it looked like someone hit a full reset button on her entire life. Suddenly, everything felt polished. A confident smile, a fresh image, and what seemed like absolutely no baggage following her into this new chapter. To outsiders, it almost felt like a completely new character stepping onto the stage. Gone were the rumors of a teenage marriage. Gone were the questions about annulments or complicated past chapters. Everything that once raised eyebrows seemed to disappear overnight. The version of Meghan people saw on campus looked simple and focused, an ambitious student chasing acting dreams, building a future and moving forward without hesitation. But to some observers, this didn't feel like a small update or natural growth. It felt much bigger than that. Skeptics online say that shift didn't look like ordinary reinvention. It looked like a carefully planned reset, a clean slate where the past was left behind and a brand new story took center stage. In their view, that entire Giuliano chapter just disappeared. No mentions, no loose ends left behind,
Just a perfectly clean narrative moving forward, like that part of her life never even happened once she stepped into college.
I remember when she was born, big new addition to the family, and we just have a very young sister here.
Thomas Jr. was 14 when Meghan came into the world.
By the time she settled into campus life, Meghan was presenting herself as confident, polished, and worldly. A young woman ready to break into entertainment and carve out her place in the spotlight. The official version framed that earlier gap year as a time of growth, discovery, and personal development. It sounds smooth, simple, and easy to follow. But critics? They say that timeline still leaves too many unanswered questions hanging in the air. Because when people look closer, the details from that period remain incredibly unclear, and that's what keeps the curiosity alive. What stands out even more to skeptics is how easily the new versions seem to be accepted. No major pushback, no intense questioning, just a smooth transition into this new chapter. Professors saw a focused student, classmates saw someone driven, building a future in media and acting. Casting circles later saw a rising performer eager to make connections and move forward fast. And according to critics, that's exactly when the larger narrative really started taking shape. One story layered over another, each chapter adding to the image of someone determined to keep climbing higher and higher in Hollywood and beyond. But skeptics keep pointing out one thing. When a story begins with missing pieces, those gaps don't just disappear. They tend to resurface later when people start digging again. Because rumors, they don't just fade away forever. They sit quietly in the background, waiting for the right moment to come back up. And that's where the whispers reportedly started spreading again over the years. People loosely connected to the Giuliano family would occasionally hint that Meghan's early history might not be as simple as it seems. Nothing confirmed, nothing officially proven, just quiet comments repeating similar ideas over time. A teenage relationship, a sudden marriage story, a sealed annulment, and in the most dramatic versions of the rumor, even talk of a child kept completely out of the spotlight. Skeptics say the strangest part isn't just the claims themselves, it's how consistent the whispers sound no matter where they appear. Different people, different places, different times, yet somehow the same outline keeps showing up again and again. And that repetition, that's what keeps the speculation alive, growing louder every time the story circles back into public conversation. That repetition is exactly what keeps the speculation alive online, because no matter how much a public figure reshapes their image, they can't control every memory, every old connection, or every story someone else might still remember. People move, people talk, old acquaintances reconnect, and once a rumor finds an audience, it doesn't just disappear. It sticks, it spreads, and it keeps coming back stronger. As Meghan's profile grew, first in Hollywood and then on the global stage after joining the royal family, those whispers didn't fade into the background. If anything, critics say the spotlight only made people more curious about the parts of her life that feel the least explained. Every speech about authenticity, every moment centered around speaking her truth, it didn't quiet the conversation for everyone. For supporters, it was inspiring and powerful, but for skeptics, it had the opposite effect. They saw it as a reason to dig deeper, to question more, to focus even harder on the gaps they believe still exist. And that's what brings the story to a moment critics say she would least want to face: the passage of time. Because if any of the rumors floating around online were somehow true, then this wouldn't just be a story about the past anymore. It would be about the present. The person at the center of those whispers wouldn't be a distant memory or a hidden chapter. They would now be a fully grown adult stepping into the real world. And that changes everything. If those claims were ever proven, that person wouldn't be a child anymore. She would be a grown woman, around 30 years old, with her own voice, her own choices, and absolutely nothing stopping her from stepping straight into the spotlight if she wanted to. Just imagine how fast everything could flip. One headline, one interview, one simple confirmation of the truth, and suddenly the entire narrative people have followed for years could be shaken. That's all it would take. Because for years, Meghan has built a powerful public image centered around telling her version of events. Emotional interviews, high-profile documentaries, and speeches about finding her voice and sharing her truth have all shaped how the world sees her today. Supporters see strength, resilience, and control in that story, but critics, they keep coming back to one uncomfortable question that refuses to go away. What if another voice from her past suddenly decides she's done staying silent? Because that wouldn't just spark headlines. According to skeptics online, it could flip the entire narrative people have been following for years in an instant. A story built on ambition, reinvention, and a carefully shaped public image could suddenly face a wave of new questions that don't go away quickly. The kind that stick around, grow louder, and keep pulling attention back again and again. Rumors claim this chapter has stayed locked away behind silence and sealed records for years, but time has a way of changing everything. People grow up, perspectives shift, and stories that once stayed hidden can suddenly find their way back into the spotlight. And once that spotlight hits, it's almost impossible to push things back into the dark. That's the part critics say would matter most, because if someone connected to those long-running whispers ever stepped forward publicly, Meghan wouldn't be the one controlling the narrative anymore. You can dodge headlines for a while. You can respond to criticism in interviews, shape your message, and keep moving forward. But unanswered questions, they don't disappear. They come back louder, stronger, and harder to ignore every single time. So now it comes down to you. What do you think really happened here? Was this all just wild internet speculation that took on a life of its own? Or is there a hidden chapter that people still haven't fully uncovered yet? Drop your opinion in the comments right now. And if you want more deep dives like this, hit like, share this with someone following the story, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.